Page 38, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. It's a beautiful piece, and this is a rather challenging arrangement. They're calling it a recital piece. This is the kind of thing that you can play for people. I suggest you simply memorize it and learn it really good. So, what do we got? Well, it's in the key of F major, 1 flat, 4/4 time, and the tempo is largo, which is really slow. Largo is kind of like I've been doing in most of these videos I've done. Really slow. The melody is in the bottom staff. It's the upper notes. You look at the bottom staff here at the beginning. You see 2 notes there at the beginning, and the top note has a stem going up and the bottom note has a stem going down. That tells you there's 2 voices going on here. And they've got the RH and LH to help you out, but even without those, you would use the stems to tell you what to do. So the right hand's going to play the top note in the bottom staff, and the left hand's going to play the bottom note down here. The music is not technically correct the way it's written, but I'll point out some things. I would like you to understand everything you're seeing in here, and when they have errors in the music like that, if you don't understand it, you're going to think, well, that's correct, and then you're off in the left field and you're believing stuff that simply isn't correct. So we got some things to talk about. I'll come back to the bottom staff. Let's talk top staff here. We got chords, and these chords are going to be done with the left hand. Now the stems don't tell you anything about that because there are not multiple voices going on in the top staff. There's only one voice, that's the chords, and they're telling you to use the left hand. The reason is because the right hand is going to be busy with the melody. The right hand in this arrangement is devoted to the melody. Left hand's going to do everything else. Busy left hand, yay. So we simply have the chord. The 1 chord, F chord. 4 chord, keep going, come down. Technically, it's not correct, as far as I'm concerned. So let's look at the first measure, and this is all over the place. I'll just point it out in the first measure. Every measure's got to have 4 counts in it according to the time signature. If you look at the first measure, the top staff, there's only 2 quarter notes in it. There's only got 2 beats. That's the problem. They've left out the quarter rests. There should be a quarter rest first, and then the chord, and then another quarter rest, and then the chord. So it's rest 2, rest 4. Before each of these chords, most of them, there should be a quarter rest on beat 1. Some of them, you have a quarter rest on beat 3, and in some measures the quarter rest is on beat 4. And to figure out what's what, you have to line it up, both staffs together, and you can, if you use both staffs together, you can figure out all 4 counts. But they've done the same thing in the bottom staff, and that's part of the problem. If you look at there's 2 voices in the bottom staff. Top voice is a melody. That's fine. They've accounted for everything in the melody. You can use that as a guide if you need to figure out where things are. But the bottom voice is here. There should be a quarter rest under that half note to indicate the bottom voice has a rest. So it's here, rest, 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 rest. Now as far as the hand goes, there's no resting because the left hand is playing both of these. The left hand is playing here, and then the top staff here. And then the bottom staff, top staff. It's crossing over. So between the 2 staffs, the left hand is getting all 4 counts. The point is, technically they should have quarter rests in here. But whatever notes you have in one staff has nothing to do with another staff. Every staff, every measure has to be complete in itself. They can't be cheating like that. Now, the trick is putting it all together. Right hand gets the melody. Watch the fingering. In second measure, it's 1/4. That's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the rhythm. Third measure is 3 and then 1. Fourth finger on the C because we need the 5th finger for the second measure, second line. Last measure of the second line, it's 1 and then 4. etc. So just watch their fingering carefully. On top of that, we need the phrasing. Left hand, or excuse me, the right hand gets it. The left hand's just kind of going back and forth. Yeah. But at the beginning, it's the end of a phrase. You lift up before going on. Second line at the end of the first measure is the end of a phrase. Lift up before going on. And do that throughout. We want to hear the phrasing. It's really beautiful if you can bring out the phrasing, and it adds a great deal to the piece. You think the other pedal covering it up. I'll get to the pedal in a minute. Let's just get that. So put the two hands together, and now here you're just going to have to go really, really, really slow. So at first, you just here. You got to play all that together, and this is fun. Then you go down here and play a C. You come back up here and play these together, and then here, and then here. What's the fingering? What's the fingering? It's a new phrase. Lift up and go on. It's a B natural there at the top of page 39. Sounds weird, but it is. Then a B flat. And that's C at the end of the first line on page 39. That's by itself, because you're supposed to have a rest in the other hand. They do show a rest down below. That's nice of them for a change. Lift up before going on, new phrase. New phrase. And then etc. all the way to the end. You've heard all that before. And that's basically it. So work it out very slowly so that you can get it rhythmically correct. No hesitations, no glitches, real slow so you can hear all the notes. And once you have the phrasing and the notes and all that, then see if you can add the dynamics. The dynamics they're giving you, it starts MP, and that actually applies to the melody. I know the MP isn't exactly in the middle, but they've got the RH in the way. The MP applies to the melody, that's down here. If this is medium soft, everything else has to be soft or softer, huh? And then in the third measure, you're going to grow just a little bit, not much. Medium loud here. And then in the last line on that page, that you're coming back down. So you get a little louder and a little softer in places, but it never gets really loud, and it's the melody we're after. Everything else has to be soft. Now let's add this pedal. I have some suggestions to make on the pedal. Naturally, I like to hear the phrasing. I don't want to smear things up too badly. For the most part, what they're doing is they're pedaling according to what the melody is doing. So if you watch this, just watch the melody by itself in the pedal. You're pedaling the first beat and changing it on the second. And this is overlapping pedaling or lag pedal. So the notes come first and then the pedal does its thing. So it's here. And again. Where the melody is controlling what the pedal is doing, which is kind of nice because that's going to help bring out the phrasing. So add it all, you get that. I like to hear break in the phrasing, and so what I would do is I would lift the pedal up with the right hand on that C before going on to the Fs. So second measure. And again, second line, first to second measure, I lift the pedal up with the right hand because I want to hear a break in the phrase. It's a little tricky, like in the second measure of the first line or the third measure of the second line. When you have, you don't put the pedal down till you get to the C. You don't pedal that D. You don't want to smear it. We don't want that. So it's here, and then you put the pedal down right after you play the C. So what's that? It's tricky because the left hand's here. We want to catch that sound. So your left hand has to stay down long enough for you to get the pedal down and then move up. You may, in that case, have to put the pedal down with the note to give your left hand time to get up there. You have to experiment with that. Just don't catch the D. And then go on. This is the last line on page 38. And again, I'm going to lift the pedal with the right hand. I'm not going to pedal the A. It's by itself. No pedal. And then I'll put the pedal down after I play the next notes. And page 39, first line, last measure, the last note, no pedal on that. Lift the pedal up with the right hand on that. Because it's a new phrase, we want to hear it. Third line down, at the end of the first measure, lift the pedal up because it's a new phrase. Lift it up with the right hand. Again, on the fourth line down, the second measure, lift the pedal up with the right hand because it's the end of a phrase. So we hear. Again, last line at the end of the first measure or in the first measure or whatever it is, end of the first measure, lift it up so we hear a break in the phrase in the right hand. The hands and the pedal come up at the same time at the end of the fourth count together. And that's this piece. It's a beautiful piece, and it's slow. It's sort of sad. You just milk it for everything it's worth. Learn it technically, all the mechanics, and then you can start thinking about the musical message and the emotion. This is a great piece to learn to play for people.